have been delivered, and a punch list was created. And then from that punch list, we began doing repairs, mentioning that you could come in the middle of January after the storms, and there were 2 to 3 inches of water. Got them to come in. We told them they had to pull out drywall or whatever the wall. I'm probably not a construction person saying the right thing, but what we know is drywall. Because we knew there was mold growing. We had pictures of the mold. We've shared those pictures of the mold. Mold continues to grow because water continues to go in. They came in March, and I asked the utilities director to go out in March after the March storms, and once again they were full, inches full of water, and we reported that out. We began noticing at this time, sending these and having these calls with the custom containers. You've already heard a lot of these details. By April, they just walked off the site, and for over a month, we have been trying to get them back on site. I would also credit Mr. Jackson for calling me up during a recent storm, early May, saying, I need to cover these. They have taken off all of the doors and window coverings, mostly air conditioning units, as you saw in that picture. They are completely exposed. If they were exposed before, they are completely exposed. During that week, we had a week long of rain. We, at this point, have gone in through assistance from engineering and from the operations department to go in and bring in other companies to inspect these. At this point, there is serious concern that they are structurally unsound, that they cannot be repaired. We don't even recommend repairing them. If we did, the cost would be at least $80,000 per unit, costing us more than or as much as to buy them new. At that point, Mrs. Castaneda went out and looked at getting quotes to replace them. We used a vendor that we have been working with on other projects on this site and found that we have one that will be California State certified, be California building certified, and have seals from housing and community development, meaning that we will actually show that they are in compliance to house the homeless population. And so, based on this recommendation, it would cost us less or at least equal to do repairs ourselves or to then buy these containers. Now, there are a lot of costs that are going to be associated with this that you've heard about on the last one. There's also some undergrounding. Those costs are part of our regular CIP. How did we fund this? We originally funded it with a general fund amount that was going to be reimbursed by this grant of $1.2 million. That $600,000 that we have paid, as you heard and made statements on, yes, we paid 90% of our contract. 2 payments were due, one at construction and one at delivery. Those 2 payments were made equaling 90%. Those 2 payments have been made. That is going to be a sunk cost for us. We are going to work through legal channels to recapture that based on the warranty and how the contract was written. This is a purchase of good, and we'll go through that legal process to recoup this amount. However, we strongly recommend that you do not move forward with trying to repair these due to the fact that there is structural gaps. There are areas that have an over 2-inch gap between the framing. This was discovered when I just found this out. So you did not hear this during our one-on-ones, council members, because I found this out when I was trying to get more information. That I did know, as noted, that there was the in our staff report. So I want to be clear. We've indicated another one. I think it all went all the way back to April, that we said that there was the tape, the blue tape that came up, and you saw the frame. But what it discovered was a 2-inch gap between that framing. That is why we received 2 to 3 inches of rain. They kept just saying, oh, it's just a little bit of cracking. And so our team was proactive and went out there and scraped off what they were using to hide their work. And this type of behavior just can't continue. And it's also why the contractors who have come out to inspect it said, and I actually think it's why their contractor walked off site, because they're going to be held responsible for repairs that cannot be made. And I'm going to turn it over at this point to Mr. Jackson to tell you about some of his assessments. We do have pictures. I'd hesitate to use them. They're not in the staff report. I do want to say that we will provide you with this, a mini table that Mr. Jackson was referring to, that he did this presentation to the city manager and to myself when he made this recommendation. When we go to the June 6th council meeting, I think, should you move forward on any recommendations, um, so that the council can have that. And I'll work with Mrs. Castaneda to make sure it's also part of the maybe our next weekly update or the second one thereafter. But it'll be published for this recommendation that I'm doing mostly verbally. Um, the funding, again, this is grant funded. The Our sunk cost is $600,000. At this point, I don't, either direction you go. Either we rebuild it and spend $600,000 to repair them, or we abandon them and then we move on to making a new purchase. Or your third option, and I want to make sure this is clear, you have this option. You could just tell us just to stop altogether and no more beds. Just leave with the modulars, go back onto the sprung structure, and leave this project. That is an option. Um, we just need to hear what you're doing, and I hope this was as clear as possible. Mr. Jackson, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Chair, let me go back to the situational analysis that we started talking about, critical pathways. The reason we actually presented this to the city manager and assistant city managers and the rest of the team was after we realized that this group initially had just walked off and left us, per se, with these units. We went back out, took a look, and found that much of the work that we had identified in our punch list had not been completed. In conjunction with that, though they had taken the doors and the door frames off of the units, as well as the air conditioning units, they left these units in open air. In our climate here, I'm fairly new to the area, but I have enough sense to recognize this. And in our climate here, it gets extremely hot during the day and then cool at night. That forms condensation. These units are built out of ferrous iron. That is a setup for rust and corrosion continuously. So having left them open, what this group basically did was give us units that even if we were to completely refurbish or rehabilitate them, within 12 to 18 months, we would be going back in to do additional work. Our engineers actually said this to us when we started having the conversations about we can fix them or we can force them to fix them and rehab them. Our engineers said to us, even if we do, James, that we're going to be these units will be shut back down within 12 to 18 months because we're going to have to go back in order to ensure that the occupants are, occupying safe units. We're going to have to shut it down, go back in, remove any additional rust or mold, which is also forming as a result of being open like this, before we can put anyone back in them. Based on that, I went back to the manager and said, okay, sir, we got three options here. We've got the legal option, which we don't, it's undetermined the amount of time that it's going to take because that's going to be legal. And to Mr. Vice Chair's point, we don't know what the time frame is going to be. But more importantly, there's going to be more money spent because now we're looking at outside counsel. So that's phase one to me in terms of a pathway, or pathway one to me was a non starter. It was either pathway two or pathway three. Pathway two meant that we were going to dump money into a situation that we got the bad end of a deal on, and it was going to cost us somewhere in the neighborhood of between 1.1 and 1.2 million to bring these units up. One cumulative total. The 600,000 we've already dumped into it. An additional 600,000 or more to actually bring them up to California code so that we can provide occupancy for our clients by October 31st. Or we have the option of going with Linked Equipment, who has, for all intents and purposes, shown us or given us proven product through the modulars that they've created, our shower units and our bathroom units. Excellent. In fact, we wanted to actually bring them to the site so that as you all come out and do your, biweekly tours, you had an opportunity to see what good construction and good companies or vendors look like. We have them available. They are with the vendor. We had already prepared those for the sprung structure. So we can actually have those shipped out to us. We did not actually send them or have them shipped to us But what we're saying to you is this company has a proven product and they can deliver this to us for 700,000 as opposed to 1.1, 1.2 million and get it done by October 31st. So that's where we were in terms of creating a critical pathway. Um, as a former Marine, one of the things that we learned was situation, mission, execution, admin, logistics, command, and signals. I'm going to give you all of the information that you need to make a good decision right now because we don't have a lot of time to do it. And what we have given you with this critical pathway, with either pathways 2 or 3, are the two options that we have. And what we're asking you to do is to take the information that we're sharing now that we have vetted this situation as best we can to give you good information, which we will provide to you when we send this information forward to you for June 6th. We will give you this critical pathway analysis with these critical factors in addition to the projected estimated costs and the over and under analysis, which basically pulls out everything after you've done the analysis and said, okay, and says to you, okay, why should I go with pathway 2? Or why should I go with pathway 3? That's what this spreadsheet is going to share for you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Yes, ma'am.
Um, do you have any